I have owned my Series 4 Apple Watch since 2019, and over the past 5 years that I've owned this watch, it's held up really well. And I'll admit, last year I got tempted into upgrading to a Series 7, and after about 2 weeks of use, I decided to return it because it just didn't bring me any more value than this Apple Watch. This literally does everything that I need from an Apple Watch, even in 2024, and I have no desire to upgrade. You can pick up a used Series 4 Apple Watch on eBay for about 80 quid, which raises the question, should you actually go ahead and buy one? And in most areas, the Series 4 Apple Watch holds up really, really well. There is just one area that I think is an issue, and that is battery health. Like all batteries, Apple Watch batteries degrade over time, but because they're so tiny, it makes quite a big difference. And my particular Series 4, the battery health has held up okay, but I've seen a few online where the battery health is absolutely dismal, and it's probably not going to be ideal. So you can either get yourself a really good deal on a Series 4 Apple Watch where you're willing to spend the extra 60 or 70 pounds to replace the battery, or you can find one that's got pretty good battery health, similar to mine. Or another option could be you can get one with low battery health, use that as a negotiation point, and just use this as a fitness tracker. So I don't wear this Apple Watch 24/7 anymore. I wear it when I go for a run, I wear it when I go to the gym, or when I'm doing yoga. Other than that, it's not on my wrist all that often. Occasionally, I'll wear it for the entire day, but really, that's not as frequent as it used to be. And I think for someone who just wants a fitness tracker, and for most of the time they're going to wear a normal watch, you can pick up a really cheap used Series 4. And then on the other hand, if you do find a really cheap Series 4 and you're able to spend a little bit of money on getting the battery replaced, I do think that you'll be happy with this watch. So I'm going to start off by talking about the battery experience that I've had with this watch. So my battery health is currently at 89%, although I do suspect that it's probably a little bit lower than that just due to its age. And if I take it off its charger at about 7:30 in the morning, it will last until about 7 o'clock at night, and at that point it's turning off because it's out of charge, and that isn't including any workouts. So that's one thing I would really take into consideration, is the battery life on this thing isn't that great when it is degraded. Personally, like I said, for me, it's not too much of an issue. I primarily wear it now whilst I'm tracking a workout. In terms of the actual hardware of this device, it still feels hella modern. So the screen looks really good and gets plenty bright enough. It's a really sunny day outside at the moment, and I just went for a walk and I tracked it with my Apple Watch, and even under direct sunlight, I've got my sunglasses on, I could still see the screen perfect. I don't think you're going to have any issues with visibility. One big thing that is different with this Apple Watch and some of the newer Apple Watches is that it doesn't have an always on screen. And for me, this is not an issue. I do not care, because all it takes is a very gentle flick of the wrist and the screen turns on and you're able to see the time, whatever it is that you want to see from your Apple Watch. A newer Apple Watch will have that always on display. It's up to you if you think that's important. For me, it's really not that important. Another thing that might make this watch look a little bit outdated is the screen is ever so slightly smaller in that case size. So there are sort of quite big black bezels in comparison to the newer Apple Watches. And it means that the newer watches can display more information and you can respond to text with like an actual keyboard. Again, isn't that important to me? I tried using the keyboard on the Apple Watch and it was absolute trash. You don't really want to be responding to text on a couple inch screen, so it's not that usable in my opinion. So having the smaller display really doesn't bother me at all. This watch is powered by the S4 chip, and it's held up really well. I mean, I can't really imagine that people are doing anything particularly demanding on an Apple Watch. In terms of loading up applications, displaying notifications, tracking workouts, and navigating sort of watchOS, this Apple Watch feels very smooth and very fast, and the S4 chip holds up fine. I at no point feel frustrated, like I'm waiting for this Apple Watch to load or anything like that, apart from maybe issues with connecting to the internet. I know that the newer Apple Watches are 20% faster or 40% faster, but how much does that really impact you in the real world? I'm not sure. Like, for me, this is fast enough. One of the best things about an Apple Watch is its fitness tracking capabilities. So I will use this watch to track my runs. I really enjoy that I can download music to the Series 4 Apple Watch. I don't have the version that supports data, so I download music onto my Apple Watch. It still has GPS, so I'm able to track my runs, how far I've gone, how fast I've gone, and listen to my music without taking my phone with me, and I really like that. Whenever I go to the gym or do any sort of exercise, really, I do tend to quickly put the Apple Watch on and try and track it. And yeah, it's a really good fitness tracker. And another advantage of the Series 4 Apple Watch over the newer SE is that it's got the ECG feature, which is kind of a medical grade heart rate sensor. It's not something that I use very often, and it is something that the SE Apple Watches still don't have. If you want a really cheap fitness tracker, then a used Series 4 Apple Watch might actually do the job for you, especially if you're not bothered about replacing the battery. Like this, I don't have any concerns about sort of tracking a couple-hour walk or my run or going to the gym. It's going to last long enough for that. It just might run out of battery very early on in the evening. So if you want something, literally pop it on your wrist, you go do a workout, you take it off. A Series 4 Apple Watch is a really good bargain for that. In terms of general sort of smartwatch, Apple Watch things, yeah, it works really well. It does everything that you would expect an Apple Watch to do. It does it pretty fast as well. It's very responsive. You displays your notifications. You can use the Maps app whilst you're walking around places if you don't want to get your phone out your pocket, etc. It's really good. I'm very happy with it. One fun thing to note is that in one of Apple's recent launch events, they advertised the feature of being able to click, like make that gesture and click something on your watch as a new feature. The Series 4 does have that. It's just buried deep in the accessibility settings. So if I get a text, I'm able to dismiss it by doing that. Or if I get a phone call, I'm able to pick it up by doing that as well. It's cool, I suppose. I do have it turned on and I do actually use it occasionally, but Apple kind of marketed this as an entire new feature. But the older Apple Watches, including the Series 4, do already have it inbuilt. So you just need to turn it on. In terms of software support, this is quite a difficult one because I can't say how many more years of Watch OS this Apple Watch is going to receive, because the Series 3, which came out before this, did not receive Watch OS 10. So it could be that the Series 4 doesn't receive Watch OS 11, but I don't think that really matters in my opinion. The difference between various Watch OSs now is very minor. Admittedly, I thought that Watch OS 10 was a big step backwards, but the differences between each version is very minor, and the functionality definitely remains the same. If this watch was stuck on Watch OS 10 forever, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't make me want to upgrade until Apple did something really, really cool, and it would still meet my needs. Likewise, even if it was stuck on Watch OS 9 or 8, it would still basically do all of the same things. So whilst it's not guaranteed that there's going to be more versions of Watch OS, it's still going to run fine, even if it doesn't get more software support. So to conclude, I think one of the interesting takeaways is just how incremental the upgrades are to the Apple Watch. Like, this still feels so modern and good, which I love about it, but the newer ones, I just don't feel like they've improved that much, apart from like the Apple Watch Ultra, which I guess is quite a cool upgrade. But in general, they don't bring that much new to the table each year. Maybe there's one different sensor, a blood oxygen sensor or a temperature sensor, but I don't really see how important those things are to most people, including myself. So yeah, the Series 4 is an absolute awesome watch in 2024, and I'm still going to be wearing mine and using mine for many years to come. And you never know, at some point I might spend the extra money to replace the battery, just because it's that good. There's no point sending it to landfill or anything like that anytime soon. Hope you enjoyed this video and you found it useful. If you did, please do be sure to subscribe and click that like button. Thank you very much.